What is up, Retro Maniacs? Welcome to the Retro Card Chat Podcast. My name is Mike. I'm from Mike's Retro Trading Cards, and I'm joined by two men that populate my orbit every single week, which just clearly shows I'm the true fat guy on this podcast. They are, of course, Joe Day and EP Eric Pahalik. How you doing, guys?
Doing great. I'm pretty large myself, so I don't know. I think we're rotating around each other.
That could be. It's a shared orbit.
Yeah.
All three orbit
Yes,
around
3
each other.
moon-sized men. I remember back in the day, Mike, when you and I lost a lot of weight around the same time. EP never did, but like for that short period of time, my favorite EP being fat thing, and I can say this as a fellow fat guy, is when we played tennis for some reason, the three of us. I mean, EP and I had played tennis before, but the three of us decided to play tennis, and Mike picked me up, and we went to the tennis courts, and EP's wearing like tennis shorts, like not his cargos. He was like wearing tennis shorts and had like a polo on. And I turned to Mike and I go, man, EP looks like a tennis player, except for the obesity. And we both started, it was so mean. And it's like, I gained all my weight back after that. So really, I mean, it's karma. It's just bad karma, I guess.
Really
no offense,
is.
EP. You know I love
no
you,
offense,
right?
EP. We love you.
Yeah.
We do. Yeah. Everybody loves EP.
Everybody loves sweet little EP.
So what is going on, gentlemen? Anything new and exciting, Joe?
It's been a rough couple of days.
I've noticed that Kenny is not spinning.
Kenny is not spinning. One of the worst calls, objectively, one of the worst calls I've ever seen in college football. Ironically, Pitt lost last night because of a slide that was called too early. Ironic considering in the ACC championship game 2 years ago against the same team, against Wake Forest.
Oh, wow.
Kenny Pickett scored on a fake slide. Last night, Pitt lost because our quarterback, he was past the line, but they called the slide earlier than that. And I guess you can't review that. So Pitt ended up losing. There were many other reasons Pitt lost that game. Pitt played a terrible, terrible game. But to have the refs just rip it out of your heart, I don't usually for these drink on Sunday morning, but I have to crack one open.
Don't?
I haven't for a little while. It's been
it's been a couple weeks, but
haven't for a little bit and don't are completely different.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
But I also have something else I'm kind of drinking about and lamenting a little bit. For the first time in a little while, I have an eBay purchase that is lost.
Ooh,
it's a very not very expensive. Well, we'll get into that. What's expensive and what's not, and what's a grail and what's not. But it's an expensive card. It was being sent to CGC for authentication and then coming back up to me. It got down to Florida. I think the seller was in California. It got down to Florida fine. It ended up at Bradenton, Florida. Bradenton, Florida. Yeah. And then it says, oh, wrong address. And they sent it back. The seller doesn't have it back yet, but he said he'll check the post office on Monday. 100% feedback, has like thousands of feedback. The seller's legit. So I'm not concerned about it. It's not his problem, but it's just so frustrating when that happens that, you know, now I'm on the side of no authentication. Send it right to me. I don't want that card authenticated. But no, joking aside, it'll be fine. eBay's really good with buyers and things like this happening, so it's not going to be an issue. I just want my card.
I feel like somebody at the post office was like, what?
Because it is a confusing looking address. When you even a seller, when I print those out to send them to PSA or CGC to get authenticated, I'm like, boy, it's like a random letters and numbers. And I think the carrier might have been new, didn't know what was going on. So I'm sure it'll be taken care of, but still, I just want my card.
Yeah, I don't blame that.
So I'm going to have a couple of sips while EP talks about his week.
Okay. What is new and exciting, EP?
New and exciting is probably not. There's no words there, but fun, maybe just new to talk about. One thing I did see this week it was a YouTube short or on Twitter. I saw the replay of the Kenny Pickett fake slide. And that is, I mean, it's really pretty amazing. Like that he was able to pick himself back up after, because it was pretty it looks pretty real. Like I thought for sure you're gonna slide, and it was a good play. Pretty illegal, but it was a good play. So
no, it is now illegal.
Right.
They did.
Yeah.
That's
like
the Kenny Pickett rule. Yeah.
There are certain players that have rules named after them. Kenny Pickett is now one of them. He joins Mike's favorite Burt Emanuel. Had a rule about him. Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know
But
who
yeah,
that is.
EP, you might have heard me from Pittsburgh in Danville when that play was taking place. I was screaming louder than I've ever screamed for a football play ever. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I got up early this morning, made myself eggs for breakfast, and when I was cracking them open, I remembered how my grandparents used to get so excited every time there was a double yolk. You guys have probably witnessed this, right? When you crack open an egg, like it was like winning the lottery. Like it was like they would talk about it before they start breaking the eggs open. Because there's going to be double yoker, like, and they were just they're just excited about it. And I remember thinking to myself, like, that's kind of how I like when I open up packs of cards, even like a pack of cards that has like guaranteed insert. I still get excited about the insert. Like that's I just enjoy
an
that.
extra card. You're
right.
like, yeah. Until you open the next pack and it's missing
one less
the
card.
Right. You're like, oh.
Right. I don't think it is bad to get excited about little stuff like that every once in a while. So it just, especially in cards. So
EP cracked open the second egg and it was just all the white stuff that no one wants.
Nothing in there. Like, yeah, there.
Yeah, well, they got me.
Easy go.
No big egg got me.
No double yokers for me today though. They had they used to call it the double yoker. They used to have a name for it. Like they used to. That was how excited they were about it. So yeah.
I do come across those every now and then, so they are exciting to say the least. Let us know in the comments. Have you had a double yolk egg recently? I want to know. I really do.
It's gonna get the most comments of anything we've ever had for comments on.
Rightfully so. Yeah. Well, I actually have a little update on my life this week. Yesterday,
You're not pregnant, are you?
I'm not pregnant. No, those
okay.
days are long past. I went to the coolest place I've been to in a long time, and they are not paying me to say this, but is a retro arcade called Back to the Arcade in Allentown, Pennsylvania. If you are anywhere within a couple-hour drive of Allentown and you love retro stuff like this, they have 80s video games, a ton of them. They have it's like set up really cool. Like it's in an old mall, and like you go all the way to the back part is their 80s area, 90s area is in the middle, and they have some newer stuff up front. But they must have had like 25 different 80s like actual like joystick controlled games in the back. They had NBA Jam and Mortal Kombat and The Simpsons and Street Fighter in the 90s area. Like so cool. It was $20 to play for the whole time. I've gone to a couple different places like this. Went to one in Redland, New Jersey that was pretty cool. I went to Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash.
Yeah. Got me a box.
One in the same town there. Yeah, and went to another one this year, but this one is by far my favorite. Like the selection of games was incredible. They had like stools that matched the games for a lot of the games too, which was pretty awesome. And like the paid like one price and just play is by far the best. Like I went to one earlier this year for my birthday. My family took me there, and you had to get a card and like swipe the card and pay for it. I didn't like that. Like this $20, you can stay as long as you want, play whatever you want, just walk up to the game and play. If you don't like it, just walk away, And they had people working there that were wiping down the machines like all the time. They were, if you took one of the chairs and moved it to a different spot, they would move it back. If you left it like pulled out from the game, they'd put it back in, like just right on top of it. I was like really impressed with how well that they ran the place, and it was crowded. Like I was so happy. There were young people there too, a lot of young people. I saw parents there with kids, like teaching them how to play Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. It was so cool. Like it was, I was really surprised because I've gone to these and been some people in there, but this one was literally packed. There had to have been 50 people in there, and it was such a great time. Again, they're not paying me to say this. It's my own opinion. But
I feel like they are, though. I mean, he and I are not getting anything
I did think about saying, you give me a pass a month, I'll talk about your place on my big, gigantic YouTube channel. But yeah, definitely if you're anywhere near Allentown, Pennsylvania, check it out. Back to the Arcade. It was a blast. I mean, we're retro guys. There's nothing more retro than sitting down and playing Pac-Man.
What did I ask you when you sent us those pictures, Mike? Do you remember?
I don't, because I was so excited. Yes, and I
do they have track and field?
But on track and field, I got a couple world records when I was playing. Yes.
I asked him, do they have track and field? And he goes, yes. And I said, oh man, that's your jam, because I remember you talking about playing track and field forever. Mm-hmm. And his response was, still is, bitches. I was dying.
Yep.
I was dying when he said that.
I'm not gonna lie. You sit there and you play a game and you get the high score, or you set the world record on that. You kind of sit there like,
yeah, look at me.
Right, I did that. Yep. That's me. Look at that MTL. Yeah, that's me.
You could pull somebody over from the side.
I did, yeah. Like I felt like, yeah, you see me playing this game. That's right. I'm good at it. You suck. I'm good.
I had two thoughts. My first thought was, I wish this was like an hour and a half to 2 hours the other way. So like it would be like midpoint between Joe and us, so we could go in there. And that would be fun. Yeah. My other thought was, what time do they open, and will they kick me out after like 8 hours? For 20
it's like going to, it's like us going to a Chinese buffet, EP.
Right.
You guys
like
go.
I would play every game and every pinball machine there. Like
they had a lot of pinball too. Man. They must have had like 10 or 15 different pinball machines.
Did they sell Slim Jim? Did they sell Slim
I did not see Slim Jims, no. But my wife,
rest in peace, Kelly,
is not a gamer, and she became addicted to Frogger. It was the funniest thing. Good. She loved it. Like she was playing it for a while. She walked away, and then I went and played some games. I started looking for her. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go look at Frogger. There she was. She was playing Frogger, and like a true gamer, every time I came over, she died, and she blamed it on me.
She blamed you.
Like, well, I do great until you come over, and then I die. I'm like, yes, she is now hooked.
Yep,
she's hooked on Frogger. I think that's
she is known as the George Costanza of our group. So, I mean, that checks out.
She's gonna be stealing the Frogger machine from the local. Yeah. Oh boy.
I thought the Asteroids machine, like that was one that really stood out to me. How clean the board looked, like where the buttons were. Like, and I mean, refurbished or not, like I don't care. It looks so good and so clean and so like perfect from back in the day. Like, just oh man,
that's what was nice about it too. Like it really was like you could tell some of the joysticks had been replaced and everything, but like they were clean. They weren't beat up. They're like the screens weren't cracked or scratched up. It was just a great time, and highly recommended to anybody who's into that kind of stuff. So. All right, we could probably
next time we go to Philly, we'll stop there on the way.
Definitely, yes. I could probably do a whole podcast about it, but I will stop right there. And I'm going to plug our shows for this week. We have a couple interesting shows, of course. Our Wednesday show, we have a pretty cool one coming up this week because this guy bought a collection of wax from the early 90s. We'll call it junk wax era. It's sitting right here on the floor beside me. You can't see it, but holy cow, there's a big pile of stuff here. Yeah. So if you want to see what I bought, check that out on Wednesday morning. And Friday, we have an awesome 3 retro cards for your PC coming up. So make sure you watch that one. I love doing that show. It's so much fun to find those cards. EP this week brought something up that he absolutely wins. Like I thought I had a great card, and then EP is like brings us up.
They were all great cards. They were all great cards. Yeah, they were all great cards.
After him,
yeah, but your card's iconic. Like your card's absolutely iconic. So I mean, like
you win this week. And I will say, Mike, go back and watch the previous ones if you haven't already. Lots of fun stuff in there. Go back and check out 8 questions. We had the hobby lawyer Paul Lesko. A lot of fun stuff we've been putting up on the channel. We're going to be putting some more stuff up coming soon. So I don't know. It's take a day and just sit there and watch us. all day.
Watch
Grab a
us.
couple of beers.
Like,
Watch us all day.
comment, subscribe if you
Smash
haven't already.
that like button.
Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. That's what I want you to do.
Yes, we're almost 800.
We're
and
almost
we'll do a live
800.
stream.
When we get to 800, you get to see us in our
Live.
full glory. Well,
Oh.
not that way.
No.
No filter is
nobody
what we're
wants
saying.
that. Yes.
No filter.
If you haven't watched the live stream, if you like us here,
you'll love us.
Turn the knob up a little bit. Yeah.
Mike even drinks.
I do. Yes.
I do want to make one more point before we get into the topics today. Eagle-eyed viewers may notice that my name is changed a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to own wins, but I'm also going to own losses. So I whooped your asses in our main league of fantasy football 2 straight weeks, beat Mike and then BDP. In our second main league, what we affectionately call League 3, our Dynasty League, for the last 2 weeks, I lost to Mike and I lost to EP by a combined score of 27.25. So I'm going to own it. You know, hey, it is what it is. EP didn't even play a second running back against me.
Played Miles
Sanders, who was inactive, and he still beat me.
Well, I remember I had to leave right after the podcast last week, so I didn't change like all my lineups, and I just completely forgot to and I got back in just in time to change a couple, but that one I missed. And so
there, I have lost 2 in a row to Mike and EP. I'm gonna own it, but yeah, it hurts. It hurts.
It should.
It hurts.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
All right, guys, let's get into it this week. Oh, I'm going to start off with a little theme called Hobby Haters. You know, we're on Twitter. We do most of our interacting with people in the card world on Twitter, other than here, of course. And yeah, there were a number of things that came up this week that were very divisive, that had people arguing back and forth. But like at the end of the day, it boils down to the same thing to me. It's the kind of people that are kind of like hobby gatekeepers that feel like their opinion is what matters, give their opinion on something when somebody's really not asking for it. You know, they're kind of people that if we were in real life and they were doing this stuff, you would like not want to be around them at all.
Right.
Yet for some reason, you're talking about cards and you're on Twitter, it's fine. There's no problem with it. The first debate that I saw was the debate about what a grail card is. Somebody on Twitter made the comment, basically, I'll paraphrase here, that, you know, people throw around the term grail card, which he's not wrong. We don't even like that term. We think it's kind of silly. But at the same time, he was pretty much putting parameters on what it needed to be. It's like if a card's not a certain amount of money, like, or really difficult to get, how are you calling it a grail card? Like, and so in one way, I understand what he's kind of saying. Like, people throw that around a lot. But again, when you're setting a bar of what it has to be, you're gatekeeping, and like who are you to do that? Like, you can have your opinion, fine. If that's what you feel a grail should be, fine. But he like kept doubling and tripling, quadrupling down in the comments and like basically saying, well, you know, if it's only a $500 card, there are ways to find that. So if you really wanted it, you could get it. And it's like, come on, like, you can have your opinion, but just don't force it on everybody else. I don't know. Go at it, Joe.
So two things that really bothered me from that text. I have my pen. I feel like
take out the pen.
I wrote down notes. Two things that really bothered me about that tweet was that the first thing was he quote tweeted, or whatever it's called nowadays with X, with the person saying something to the effect of, "Oh, I just bought my Grail card," and said it was $500. First off,
unsolicited is the big problem here,
right? And it's like, okay, there's no reason to call this person out specifically. If you have a problem with Grail cards, make your own tweet and let people maybe connect the dots if they need to. There's no reason to drag this guy specifically into it. So that really bothered me. The other thing, he didn't even, in the main tweet, didn't even talk about scarcity. It was more the money. It was specifically about it being $500. Mm-hmm. Who the hell are you to tell someone else how much they can or can't afford for a card? Like, that is the most like not just gatekeeper, but living in a gated community kind of attitude. Like you are just so above everyone else because you can afford a $500 card like it's nothing. Like that's absolute horseshit. And that's what bothered me about this whole thing. I remember back in the day when I was paycheck to paycheck, it wasn't fun. If I wanted something I really, really wanted, it took me a long time to get it. Okay. Whether it's cards or it was a toy or some collectible, a new video game, whatever. I had to save up. I had to work and scratch and save to get that thing. To say that a piece of cardboard for $500 is just, oh, it's whatever. It's that $500 card to that person may be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years of saving money. Don't assume you know anyone's financial situation. We always say here, maybe if you're, trying to negotiate down $1 off of a card or something like that, maybe you shouldn't be in cards. But if that's, the difference here, though, is this person might understand that. And they're saying it's going to take me a little while to get this $500 card. To be made fun of for that, to be called out for that, I don't know, just really, really off-putting. And you could tell some of the people responding to it, you can tell that they might drive a nicer car than that guy does, or they might live in a nicer house than that guy does. And they're just pushing their worldview onto him and onto anyone else who can't afford just to pick up a $500 card whenever they want to. And it's just, stop being an asshole.
It's really that simple.
Yes.
Right?
I'm feeling a sense of overwhelm. There's so much that I'd like to talk about with this topic. I just hit my mic because I'm animated.
Yeah.
I'm going to start
You're like me today.
Fired up.
I'm going to start by rip.
Has nothing to do with all that coffee you drink.
Oh God, half a pot. But anyway, I'm going to riff off of Joe first. Like, how did the Griffey, the '89 Upper Deck Griffey is an iconic card. There are probably a lot of people that is a Grail card. That when they were a kid, they couldn't afford it. They get back into it. That's a Grail card. Mike, you said that Grail. We don't like the term. It's not that we don't like the term. It's that we don't like how it's overused by a lot of people. Where literally everything they pick up is a Grail card. That's not how it works. But I mean, the '89 Upper Deck Griffey can be a Grail card for certain people. It's only like $100 card, but I mean, and it was way overproduced. There's a million of them out there. But if that person never had it and they've always wanted one, and when they finally get back into the hobby and they actually go and they get it, like they have achieved it. They have got their Grail card. Like maybe that's the only card they will ever buy, but that is the card. Like you can't put a price on it. You can't put scarcity on it. It's an individual thing for everybody. Obviously, every card you buy can't be a Grail. That's the only thing. Like it's got to be something that you have pined for. And again, like also you can't really put like definitions on it. Like it's really, a Grail is different. It's subjective. It's different for everybody else. And I agree 100% with what Joe is saying. The social media has allowed people to become jerks. You would not, and Mike said, you wouldn't do this to a person in person.
I would hope.
A lot of this stuff.
Some people might.
You would literally, most people would compliment them, even if they thought it wasn't a big deal or it wasn't a great card. They say, "Oh, nice card, good job." Like that's like the common decency. But we've lost common decency because of, I don't know if it's a hobby problem or a social media problem or the combination of the two.
Problem.
But it might be a combination of the two because I wonder if other hobbies deal with people like we have in our hobby who are just jerks all the time.
As they say, people have lost the fear of getting punched in the face.
Right.
If it's something that could get you punched in the face in real life, maybe don't say it on social media.
Right.
And
let me real quick before I forget about what EP had just said there. Go back and watch our 5 terms that we wish would be out of the hobby. I believe Grail was one of those terms. And like EP said, it wasn't because we don't believe there are such things as Grail cards. We just have issues with how people misuse it. I have no reason to believe that the guy who was like saving up to buy a $500 card, I believe he was using that term correctly. If there's a guy or gal going out there, and every 2 weeks they have a new Grail card, or they decide that this is a Grail card now, and then a week later they sell it and say, "Oh no, this is a Grail card now." And we know people like that too. They're wrong too. I mean, so I get the initial comment that the guy made, but he made it so terribly, put so many parameters on it, and then specifically called that other person out. So you lost any sort of oh yeah, that's a good point. You lost any sort of that with me when you started doing the other stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of the a lot of what he continued to say in the comments were what really bugged me. Like basically telling, when people are saying, you know, it's a lot of money for me to like get $500, like $500 card, and he'd basically be like, well, if you really wanted something, there are ways to find $500. So like that's what really pissed me off. It's like, come on, like don't be that person. Like my question is, does this guy have a family? Because that, like, there
Right.
are a lot of
Yeah.
people, including myself, in the hobby that have a family. I could buy $1,000 card if I wanted to. I don't. Like I look at something like, what could I do with my family for $1,000? Like if a $5,000 Grail card, I could buy myself a $5,000 card if I really wanted to, or I could take my family on a really nice vacation. I could
Really
go
nice.
to the beach for 2 weeks and have a beautiful place and let my family get together and have something different that I enjoy. So like it's not about the means too. Like some of it is just like people have different views of how much they want to be in the hobby. Like if there's a Paul Heyman one-of-one on eBay right now. It started at like $2,000, $3,000, and now it's down to like I think $799 starting bid on an auction. Like I'm not paying that much for it. Would I pay maybe $300 for one? Maybe, yeah, maybe. I don't even know. But like I have a certain limit to what I really want to spend on one card. If like you know, I bought $200 Paul Heyman cards. Like that little over 200 is kind of like where I feel personally like my limit, not because I can't buy more, but just because it gets to the point where at this point in my life, I have other things that I feel like I would want to use that money for. Does that make it any less of a grail though if I buy the $200 gold autograph card? No, like I love that card. That's something that's really cool. And I don't know. You can't put the parameters on it because everybody does the hobby differently and it's not right or wrong. Like we all say this, everybody says it, but then you have these things come up and you realize that most people don't feel that way. They feel like their way they do the hobby is the right way, right, even though other people do it a different way.
I always say whenever talking about money, I never presume to know what anyone else's financial situation is. Like, like if people want to spend their money on, a new car, if people want to go on vacation with their family, if people, want to buy a $5,000 card, I never presume to know what their situation is financially. I would hope that they can afford to do whatever they want to do, but it's not my place, right? Like I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. It's not our place to assume or presume what anyone can do financially. I have Kenny Pickett cards. A couple of them I have a Brady card. I mean, there are cards that are in my collection that are over that $500 threshold, but my financial situation is different and I can sell cards to buy cards, right? Like I can sell other cards to buy cards. When I bought this Pickett here, I went out and sold 2 other cards to make up for it. Like, but that's me. And there could be someone who sold those 2 other cards and said, I do want to take my family on a vacation instead. Right. That's not wrong, or no, I do want to spend it on, maybe I have a car payment coming up. That's not wrong. I mean, however someone wants to spend their money and call a card whatever they want to call it, if it's something that's been difficult for them to get, why does it matter to you? Like that's I think that at the end of the day is the big takeaway, this overall theme. And I know we're going on to the next hobby hater thing here shortly, but that's what it boiled down to me. Both of these things is, how does this affect your life, man?
Yeah.
Like, why do you need to take the time? I don't care if you're sitting on the toilet or you're in the middle of a meeting that you feel the need to retweet and shame someone for a card. Like, what does it matter to you? How does this affect your life? It really does actually remind me of the vitriol of politics that we've gotten into in the last few years.
Absolutely,
I like why, like, there are people that you don't agree with. Well, just let them be. It doesn't affect you. Like, I just don't understand it. And this is coming from someone who hates everyone. But guess what? That hate is pretty much internal. Like, I do it on the show for effect and for, but I keep most of that hate of people internal in text to Mike and EP and stuff like that. I don't feel the need to just constantly tweet at people and call their stupid asses out on things. Like, it has no effect on my life. Why do people care so much?
I know. Go ahead, EP.
I was going to say, what I said before, is this a hobby problem or a social media problem? It's also a societal problem, right? Like, it's just terrible what we're dealing with. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Has to be my way. I two other instances here too. I just saw this morning somebody opened a pack of Upper Deck hockey and they got Connor Bedard rookie card out of it, which is the guy you want to get this year, and was happy. Posted a picture of it, like he opened a couple packs at the shop and then took a couple home, and he got that at home. And somebody had to comment, is that damage in the upper right hand corner? And it's just like, come on. And there's another guy who pulled a Corbin Carroll 1/1 and sent it to HGA. It was a pink 1/1, and he sent it to HGA, who did like a custom label for it. Card looks really sharp. Like, regardless of what you think of HGA as a grader, this person pulled a card. He wanted to keep the card. He decided he wanted to do that, to have the cool looking slab to go with it. And of course, half of the comments in his post showing the card have to be like, oh yeah, it's fine if you don't care what the value is, or oh, it's a shame you had to devalue your card like that. It's like, who cares? First of all,
who gave you the right?
Exactly. First of all, it's his card. He can do what he damn well pleases with it. And guess what? It's not going to affect your life whatsoever. Second of all, it's a 1/1. If you want that card, guess what? If it's for sale, you're going to have to pay what he wants for it, regardless if it's in PSA, SGC, whatever, because there is only one of the card out there. Like, come on. And if you really hate it, you could always crack it out of it, leave it in a one touch, send it to PSA, CSG, wherever. Like, why do you care? Somebody you don't know pulled a card that you aren't going to pull, that decided to put it in a slab that you're never going to be able to put it in, and it's going to be in their house where you never see it, but you have to comment on it. Like, what the hell?
I just want to verify this was the Corbin Carroll was a Topps card. And it was
right. Yeah, I was thinking that too.
So how many are
there could be a couple more out there.
They have the opportunity.
Okay,
we'll talk about that
very
in a minute. We'll talk about that in a minute. So the first one, the Connor Bedard. Bedard. Like, if the person was soliciting advice, like, hey, I'm thinking about grading this. What do you guys see? That's one thing, right?
Or if you're trying to sell it, and if there's clarification on,
right. Like, there are reasons for someone to ask the question: is that damage in the top right corner? There isn't a reason if the guy is just like, oh, look at this cool card I pulled. Isn't this awesome? I opened up some packs. This is really neat. Again, how does this affect you? Why are you commenting on it?
Let me say, like, there's like a white spot on the edge, like toward the upper right. It could very well just have been like the glare from something.
The lighting?
Like, like, I'm not even, like, that's what I thought at first. Like, I don't think there's a big chunk missing out of the card, but go ahead.
I took some pictures recently for eBay, and I went to upload the cards, and I'm like, yeah, this card is way more damaged than I thought. And I went and looked at the card. No, it was just the glare of the lighting, so I had to retake the picture. Like, that's probably what happened, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
But regardless, if that is or isn't what happened, scroll past, dude. Like, why do you need to like magnify? He probably like screen capped it and tried to get it as whoa, white speck here.
Thankfully, he didn't like zoom in and
then
screen
screen
tap
tap
it
and
and
be like-
use that in his
Super
reply.
grainy.
And
Yeah.
then, and then if someone did that to me, like the most people that are just happy about these cards don't really push back on people. They're like, oh no, whatever. If that happened to me, I'm like, oh, dude, thank God you showed that to me so I can throw this card away. Woo, man, that'd be terrible if I had that.
Wow.
To the Corbin Carroll thing, real quick. We've all had our comments about HGA, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
they have arguably the nicest slabs, right? CGC is up there, but those two have the clearest, cleanest looking slabs, in my opinion. And the labels look good. So regardless, if that's a PC card, I've thought about sending some of these cards in my PC to CSG. I decided to go with 1-touches instead. But if I didn't, again, what's it matter? Now, for me, it matters a little bit more because people do see these cards every day, and I want to make sure I don't trigger anyone with any HGA slabs.
So you are the kind of person who would want to trigger everyone, in my opinion.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair. But like, again, if it's his card and it's not going anywhere, like if he was trying to sell this card, sure.
Yeah.
Get at him about it. Say, oh, you really should have sent that to PSA if you want to maximize value. But to your point, Mike, and it's the first thing I thought too, it's hopefully 1 of 1, right? I don't think grading 1 of 1s makes sense anyway. So what's it matter what slab it's in, or if it's in a 1-touch or whatever? Like, it is what it is. And the couple of orders I sent to HGA, I'm sorry, the grading wasn't that bad. Like, they were pretty accurate with the grades. Like, I looked at them and I'm like, yeah, that checks out. Like, so again, it is what it is. Different strokes for different folks. Just slide past it. Say, nice card. You don't have to say, oh, great looking slab. Just slide past it. EP's even asked us a couple of times if the cards were, HGA was doing a $1 deal or something like that, would you send to HGA? Sure. I have lots of cards I think would look great in custom slabs. Why not? But like, I don't know. Just, again, it's the classic. Just don't be an asshole. Is it really that hard?
Apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like again, I'm overwhelmed. Like we shared so many different things this week, and I thought that in the Corbin Carroll comments in the thread, I thought it seemed like there were more people telling people, maybe I saw it after you guys, but I thought there were a lot more people that were saying
it ended up being like that.
F the haters. Don't listen to this. There's a lot of people in there saying
the progression of
whatever
kind of there was a chunk of people that were very positive, and then the PSA fanboys that everything has to be in a PSA slab came in, and then you had the people reacting to those people. So there were like 3 tiers of comments, but 2/3 of them were pretty much positive.
Yeah, and I'd like to see that. I was happy to see that in the hobby. When a lot of times you get this, I feel like this goes to the Connor Bedard as well. And I don't like to cuss on this show very much, but I mean, like, the people like to shit on other people, and in the Corbin Carroll one, it's almost like, oh, great, I get to shit on this person who did this in the slab, and I get to shit on HGA at the same time. So I'm going to do that. Oh man, but are these people
that just made my
angry?
day. That just made my day, everyone.
Come on. What are you? Is this really making their days? I guess it probably is. But like, what kind of life are you living if that's the case?
EP, I'm a little upset with you right now
because I'm sorry I cussed.
No. First off, I believe the first person to ever drop an F-bomb on this channel was you, but. Well, not on this channel. On this show was you.
Yeah.
No, I'm upset you didn't use your term because I've been avoiding using it. Your phrase, "Don't yuck other people's yums."
Oh yeah,
you have not used that. But it's
a borrowed. It's not mine. It's not mine.
Okay.
I do love
yours
it.
in this space, in this universe. And my God,
all week it's been
nothing
the
truer
than
that. It is. It is just. Someone likes something, just let them like it, unless they're harming you in some way. Why do you have to shit on it?
Yeah, Mike put the Corbin Carroll thing perfectly. Like, it's a 1 of 1, and that person got it in the HGA slab. It seems like, based on the comments, because of the color match, because got the color match for the label. Like, it sounds like it's going to be his PC card forever. Like, just let them have their time, man. That's a really cool freaking card. Like, why? You don't have to be a jerk about it. Like, why?
And PSA fanboys, you're a cult. Like, if you see that and you can't fathom the fact that somebody may want to send their card somewhere other than PSA because they don't care what the value is going to be, you have a problem. seek help. We need to start
Yes.
like a
Intervention.
Alcoholics Anonymous for PSA fanboys.
I agree.
I was thinking,
back me up on that.
Well,
I was thinking that we needed, if we did this like skit comedies, we could put together a church of PSA comedy, and that would be great. It'd be hilarious. There'd be a lot of material.
We should work
there.
on that. Let us know in the comments if you want us to work on that. But like you said, though, the good news for all of the people that are upset that the Corbin Carroll is now trapped in an HGA slab is there might be more of them out there. Because we just found out this week that not only did Topps put 2 superfractors in Bowman Chrome for 95 of the cards, apparently there's a third 1-of-1 superfractor. There were 3 different breakers that have pulled on camera a Juan Benjamin 1-of-1 out of this year's Bowman Chrome. We have to ask, do you think there are more? Like, what in the hell is going on here? Okay, if you had 95 duplicate 1-of-1s, I can maybe, because I'm wearing the shirt and I'm clearly being paid by Michael Rubin to make my comments, I can understand there may have been some kind of issue during production that should have been caught that wasn't. You're trying to make it right. But now that there's a third 1-of-1, I'm even though I'm being paid handsomely by Michael Rubin, I can't even come up with an excuse. Like, how? Like, 2, how are you printing 3? Like, I could see, okay, maybe you print extras for a backup, and
they made their way in
a couple of the sheets that weren't supposed to, but you have 3. Why in the hell are there 3 to begin with? And do you think it's the only one that has 3? Go ahead, EP. Tell me, EP, I need to know. Explain it to me.
Like, there are so many things here again. Like, they had that number 95. Like, they knew, there are 95 of these cards. So did they also know that there was at least one third 1-of-1 somewhere out there?
You beat me to it, EP. Yep.
Like,
how did they make one though? Like, they're printed on sheets.
There's probably 95 of them, right? There's probably more than just one. Like, I mean, there's this. And did they know that and not tell everybody like that there's a third one? Oh, also there's a couple of third 1-of-1s out there. They think, oh well, nobody's going to pull that one, so we're not going to tell anybody that. Like,
or they'll only think there are 2. Even though there are actually 3, they won't notice.
Yeah, they'll never figure out there's 3. It's fine. It's don't worry about it. It's fine. Because
we're not under a major microscope right now. I mean, what the hell?
No lawsuits or anything.
Because they had that exact number of 95. They had the exact number, so it seems like they probably knew. I'm guessing they probably knew about this third 1-of-1 as well. So, like, oh man, what are they doing?
All the praise that I'm going to say mostly YouTube, but all the praise that we gave Fanatics for how they responded to the double 1-of-1 thing. Hey, they're paying people out. There's going to be some issues with that, sure, but at least they're trying something to make it right. Just went out the window, right? Yeah. Because if there's a third 1-of-1 of each of these players, that's ridiculous. And Mike, I'm going to call you out a little bit.
What'd I do?
At the very beginning of the segment, you said Topps put in a third 1-of-1 or whatever. We need to stop saying Topps. We need to start saying Fanatics.
They're different companies, right? I mean,
yeah, Topps is the company. Look, it's on the shirt.
How many superfractors, triples and doubles of superfractors were in Topps products before Fanatics?
I mean, there were probably other ones that we just didn't know about.
No. We talked about this before.
Okay.
We talked about this before.
Okay.
If stuff like this happened before, it would have hit social media by now.
Yeah, I think we'd know about it even now.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, eventually.
I got my ass called out when I tried to make that argument from you two. I'm saying it again. If stuff like that happened, if there were 1-of-1s out there, double 1-of-1s, this is a Fanatics issue. I don't care if they say they're 2 different companies, whatever. We don't complain about playoff when Panini screws up, right? Like, I think we have to put the blame where it belongs, and that's Fanatics. Things have not gone great. I'm sorry.
In fairness,
I'm paid by Fanatics.
Now, could it maybe be a Panini problem, though? Because Topps hired so many Panini employees that maybe
wait,
Panini did.
Wait, you only have
my
one of one in
God.
this product. What are you doing? We need to have way more
This-
1-of-1s. What?
That is the most
Michael Rubin, call me.
phenomenal, and the funny thing is, I made a joke about this a couple of weeks ago when I said, well, they keep hiring Panini people. Of course, they're going to keep screwing up. That being said, yes, I'm sure Fanatics fanboys are legitimately saying things like that. And again, I cannot say this enough. I said it when the duplicate 101s came out. They own the printing company too. So I'm just saying, from soup to nuts, they're really screwing this whole thing up. And it's going to get worse and worse if more triplicates of these 101s come out. Are you going to have a double buyback program? Because now the 101 that, because we're buying this other one, your actual 101 will be worth what a 101 should be. Not anymore. It's not. Unless you're going to buy two of them back. I mean, you two are the huge Fanatics fanboys, right? The two of you bow to he that is Michael Rubin. So I will let you defend it. But I just think with all the stuff going on with Fanatics, the lawsuits, everything like that, we're here to make the hobby better. Panini has done nothing but screwed up. We're locked in for 20 years, people. All the major sports. We are locked into this for 20 years. I'm just saying.
Do you have anything else to add here, EP?
I just said I still think we're in better shape than with Panini. At least I think the box prices are going to be less expensive. And
because you're going to get 12 101s per box.
Listen, this is such a big deal on the ultra high end of these cards. In general, I think Fanatics is going to be better for the hobby than Panini.
They better be. We've got 20 years with them. We're locked into a 20-year marriage with Fanatics. We are.
Yeah, for sure. We had
an abusive marriage, a 20-year abusive marriage with Fanatics.
You can't. We don't know that yet.
I have my pen.
Oh
here,
man.
I have a theory.
I'm gonna mute myself. So
don't interrupt me.
Fanatics phone. I'm gonna mute myself too.
Don't interrupt me, because I have a theory here, and I just want people to hear me out. I think what has happened here, clearly, you have Panini, who has lost the license, right? They're not going to get them back for 20 years. They're upset about that. That's why they have taken Fanatics to court to try to sue them. They're using this, they raided our employees, as part of the reason that they're suing and to make their antitrust claim. My theory is, I feel like Fanatics has sent these former employees to Panini, has sent them to Fanatics to do this kind of stuff to help Panini win the lawsuit, because Fanatics has been saying all along that, Panini is bad for the hobby. So Panini was, air quote, raided by Fanatics. All these Panini employees went to Fanatics, and now all of a sudden Fanatics is having all these troubles, double superfractors, triple superfractors. Clearly Panini sent all of these employees there. It's an inside job. They're all moles, and they are doing this on purpose so Panini can win the lawsuit and Panini can keep the licenses without having to compete and pay more money than Fanatics. There you go. Let me know what you think. What do you think, EP?
I got tears in my eyes. They sent spies to sabotage.
Think about it.
They're in the press building. They're the ones in.
Sense.
Oh, we're gonna throw these in here.
Yeah.
Okay.
They sent them there so Fanatics would screw everything up so they could win the court case.
Clearly not a Fanatics problem. Clearly not a Fanatics or Topps problem.
Yeah,
it's clearly a Panini problem.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to let Panini get away with this, Joe?
What's the next topic? I mean, this is the worst thing I've ever witnessed, and I watched my house burn down. Well, so I will say to your little bit there, I will say
a bit.
If this
it seems accurate.
Yeah. If this was true, then Fanatics and Michael Rubin are actually not good at business. Like we were talking about how great of a company and what a great businessman Michael Rubin is. Must be pretty bad if he let this happen, because Panini, who's terrible at business, was able to do this. So,
or maybe Panini the whole time were making us think they were terrible, knowing this day would come, so nobody would suspect
the long game
them for what they're doing here. It's
guys,
clear to me. I don't know why you guys.
I only brought up one beer. I can't. I can't.
That's why they started pumping all those 1-on-1s into their products, right? Like just putting 1-on-1s and 1-on-1s and 1-on-1s to throw everybody off.
Like, hey, at least we make all our 1-on-1s look different. Fanatics, they're all looking the same.
Yeah.
Okay, well, moving on. Fanatics actually did something really good this week because, Fanatics Live, let's be real,
the bar is low.
It is going to take over the whole breaking industry. If you want to break, you want to sell their product, you're going to be on there, right? There was a breaker called Overtime Rips that was breaking Topps Gilded Baseball. Not a cheap product, but they were auctioning off the spots. Apparently, the auction amount didn't bring them enough money, enough margin to break it. So they canceled the break. They canceled all the winning bids and just said, oh, well, we're not, these bids aren't high enough. We're not going to make enough money. We're going to cancel it. And Fanatics turned around and very quickly suspended their account. First of all, I mean, none of us are huge breakers here, but I have to imagine at times, if you're running a break, you're going to lose some money on products here and there. Like it's all factored in.
You're running a break with auctions.
Yes, sure. Absolutely. Yeah. And
sure.
So if you're doing that, you're going to lose some, you're going to win a lot more. And I would imagine that's par for the course. Like the nerve of the breaker to just, no, we're not going to do it.
Right.
At any point, yet alone being on Fanatics Live, like how stupid do you have to be? Like that's all I have to say.
The thing that struck me is it's not like if the auctions go crazy and they make like quadruple the profit that they should have. It's not like they're giving refunds, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh, it's only if it's good for us will we terminate a break or do something that shady that we shouldn't do. I mean, you run that risk with auctions as an individual seller on eBay. Mm-hmm. We talk about this all the time. You could have something that you think should sell for $50. You start at 99 cents and it sells for 99 cents plus shipping. Like it just happens sometimes. So if you're going to put that risk out there because you're looking for the big reward and it doesn't come, that shit's on you. And I have another complaint about this, not from the Fanatics or the breaker side. eBay does not allow negative feedback on canceled auctions like this. Mm-hmm. Like, so as an eBay seller, people can do stuff like this all the time and get away with it. And it's absolutely ridiculous. It's one of the things that really, really bothers me the most about eBay. But that being said, from the Fanatics point of view, you're right, Mike. You're right. They are going to be the only show in town. Okay. If you want major sports products for the next 20 years and you want to make a business out of it, you need to mind your P's and Q's when it comes to their brand, because really you are an extension of their brand if you're on Fanatics Live, and they're not going to let you get away with it. They're going to do what Whatnot refuses to do, and they're going to suspend you, and they're going to make sure that you're on the up and up because it does reflect poorly on them. I wouldn't get into an auction style break unless it was someone who I knew absolutely, because you've had this issue too, Mike, where you thought someone might have shill bid you on some stuff. Sure. You know for a fact that these breakers are probably doing that. As much as it might be fun to try and get something on the cheap, I feel safer as a buyer of going to like a buy it now type of pick your team style, or just pay a set price than going after the auctions and maybe getting shilled up. And then maybe even that, if you get a good deal, getting it canceled anyway.
Mm-hmm. I love that this was a no strikes, like one strike you're out type of situation, or not necessarily out, but suspended at least. And so like, just don't, I don't know how long the suspension is or any details, but I like that they said this is no tolerance, like because like I feel like I think if they, like Joe said, if they are willing to do this, what other things are they willing to do when they're breaking? Like, and just you need to stop. You see anything that everybody disagrees with, a lot of people disagree with, just cut them off and say, you can't do this. So everything's got to be on the up and up when you're breaking with us. I think this is definitely a huge win for Fanatics, which frankly they need after the last couple of weeks. So really happy to see that.
And we talked about breaking and regulation and stuff before, and you have a big company in Fanatics, and you got to think they're going to be super careful with the stuff people are trying to do on their breaking platform, because they're going to draw eyes from governments that they don't really want them looking too closely.
Whatnot would not draw, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they're going to draw way more eyeballs than just a breaker on YouTube or a Whatnot breaker or something like that.
So Joe, you would say that Fanatics did something good there, right?
Oh yeah.
You don't need to know.
No. I had a bit all prepared that I was gonna grab my beer and say, oh my God, they did something good. Break in case of emergency, because it's so rare. It's so rare that they do something good.
I can't argue that anymore. Panini actually did something good this week too. I know, Joe, you're not a big basketball fan, but this is a pretty big deal. Tim Duncan has signed an exclusive contract with them to do autographs. He has not done autographs and card sets since I think 2002, 2003, like in the early 2000s, and he really only did a couple of years of it. So he's been out of this for a while, one of the greatest players in the NBA history. And now you're actually going to be able to pull his stuff out, which I think is pretty cool for the hobby, right, EP?
Yeah, definitely. Like I was talking about this before we started, that I feel like Tim Duncan, there are a lot of big guys that aren't really collected, like Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing. That, I mean, they're collected by their fans or their fan bases, but there's not a overwhelming desire by a lot of people in the hobby to collect cards. Where I think Tim Duncan is maybe not that. I think he is. I think he's one of those players that people actually do like his cards. A lot. He's got a lot wider of a fan base. So I'm excited about this. One of the things that I heard somebody talk about was that one of the issues is when sometimes when Panini gets somebody like this, they just flood the hobby with their autos and like all the different products. So that is one of the concerns. But like to actually finally get some of those autos out there is pretty exciting. Like I mean,
let's hope that since he wasn't big on doing this, he's not going to be willing to sign like 15,000 cards.
Right.
Like I'm hoping. I know they're going to have him like. It's gonna be in 2023, 2024. Crown Royale and Impeccable were the only ones announced. I'm going to guess that maybe he'll be a little more limited than the common Panini autograph.
He'll probably be in National Treasures. He'll probably be in Flawless. He'll probably be Panini 1-in-1. He'll probably be in all those big, small pack, small box products that have like maybe 10 cards in them. Would be my guess.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
The problem is though, depending on how much you paid him, you have to get your money's worth out of him. Whether it was Topps or Fanatics, Panini or Fanatics that signed him, you're going to have to get a lot of autographs out of him. I see Flawless breaks, and Larry Bird is in like every other one. I mean, and he's a pretty big player. I would not be surprised if you are flooded. Still, I mean, in high-end products, but you're still flooded with some Tim Duncan autos.
With what Panini charges for their stuff, they're making money. They're not worried about that.
Yeah.
So I feel like Tim Duncan.
No one ever wants to make more money.
I feel like I would want to get one of those, but I think they're going to be super expensive. I'm definitely not going to buy into any breaks or whatever to try to get one. So I just feel like they're going to, especially with this year also being the Wembanyama year, the
Spurs are going to be
expensive.
Yeah. Can you imagine what like an immaculate break? What they're going to sell?
That's a really, really good point.
Yeah.
I would say if you wanted,
although you won't get a Wembanyama autograph, so remember
that's true.
That's true.
Maybe that's why they did it. Who knows? Go ahead, Joe.
Raise those prices. No, that's a good point. To your point, EP, like if you wanted a Duncan auto like this, I would wait until Flawless comes out, and then you could probably get a Crown Royale cheaper, because that's probably one of the lower end products. My thing here is though, like we're talking about it, like I even know who Tim Duncan is. I'm not a basketball guy, but I know who Tim Duncan is. But we're all kind of retro guys. Does this move the needle for the people who are buying Flawless for the big chase? Because we talked about this before, how rookie driven cards are, just in general cards are. I mean, there's something special because he hasn't signed so long, but I mean, people pull a Larry Bird and he's definitely signed more, but and they're like, oh, cool, Larry Bird card, and move on like it's nothing. I worry that someone like Tim Duncan, it probably will be maybe a little bit more of a bump this year, but going forward, it's going to be like, oh, Tim Duncan, cool. I really want so-and-so rookie. I think we're going to see a lot of
I
that.
think there's a pretty quick shelf life on like how big of a needle mover that'll be. I think you'll have a lot of interest because he hasn't signed, but then it'll obviously drop off just like a rookie,
Yeah.
Next rookie class comes out, you're gonna move on from the last one. So
I feel
unless
like
you're Justin Herbert for some reason.
Well, that's
Justin
true.
Herbert.
Yes. Because way too many people have way too much money tied up in Justin Herbert.
I feel like it'll be people like our age-ish, like people that have watched Tim Duncan and know how he played and stuff. Like people like anybody who have never saw him play maybe might not be super excited about his stuff. But I mean, he was like, when I think about the players from the era when I really paid attention to a lot of the NBA, like he's definitely up there as far as one of the like superstars. So I feel like that's gonna be people in our age group that go after.
I do. I mean, I give Panini credit because I've given them crap before because they're going to lose the license. So I've said, what incentive do they have to spend money? And they obviously have. So that's a plus for them. Unless they're just doing it to make the breakers happy because Victor Wembanyama isn't going to have autographs and Tim Duncan played for the Spurs. I don't know. Call me a conspiracy theorist.
All over the place today with conspiracy theories.
Possible.
I will say with the stuff like this, I'm wondering like how much like when we look, I almost had an EP moment. When we, I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, got it. When we look forward to how many years from now, when Panini doesn't have any license, is this what the product's going to look like? Then, the Tim Duncans of the world and the Larry Birds of the world and players like that, the Joe Montana, I know rookies. He'll sign anything. Yeah. Is this the world that Panini thinks that they're going to have to kind of encapsulate because they have nothing else at that point? Or do you think they just move on? Is this the test case?
I think they go away.
Yeah.
I've said
because
that
this
all
is
along,
how they would have to do it, right? It'd have to be either college players that Fanatics didn't already sign to NILs or retired players. There's going to be like this big swath of active players who are playing every Sunday or every whatever for the NBA. And there's going to be this big swath that they have no cards of. It's going to be all these like 20-year-olds and 60-year-olds, and that's it.
I got to say though, if they do make retired rookies with the rated rookie logo, I would totally want to own a few of those of the like my players like the runs that are first. You know what I mean? Like that'd be pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Like a Josh Allen retired rookie or a.
I think we should trademark that before they get to it. So.
Yeah.
All right, got to wrap things up this week. I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a huge stash of pre-war vintage cards found and Babe Ruth cards in there. Apparently, there was an older gentleman that got in touch with the seller saying that he had his dad's collection that he's had for like 40 years and never really did anything with. He didn't know that the cards would be worth anything or if they were commons. And apparently it was in a 1920s cigar box. It had the cards in there, and there were a ton of Babe Ruth. It said the guy's father must have been a Babe Ruth collector because like every 10th card or so was a Babe Ruth. It has all kinds of Hall of Famers. It has, Ty Cobb in there, Walter Johnson, and apparently he collected the cards of the 1919 Black Sox players, including the shoeless Joe Jackson. Like, just an incredible find. Like, some of the cards were, in condition you would expect them to be.
Loved.
Yes.
Well loved.
I mean, I know a lot of vintage collectors. I'm not a vintage collector, but I love the cards that are beat up and have a story behind them. And you don't know the story necessarily, but yeah, like huge vintage find, like very, very, very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a baseball guy or vintage guy myself, but when you see stories like that, like that's why I watch things like Chasing Cardboard or American Pickers or things like that. Like I love when they find this just beat up stuff and you think about like the story because nowadays every card you pull out of a pack goes into a sleeve. right? Like,
yeah, oh yeah,
even more than when we 20 years ago were collecting, 25 years ago when we were collecting. Now it's everything. Like here, like you'll still find beat up Tom Brady from 2001 because again he was a 6th round pick. But now everything, if there's a quarterback in the 6th round, just leave in top loader. I mean, because you never know. That's why
he might start a game and the card might start a game. Up. Yeah.
And that's why I kind of love the vintage thing, because they didn't open up packs of these cards and think to themselves, oh, hey, if I keep this in pristine condition, it might get a PSA 10. No one cared. No one cared at all.
They just wanted the card. They wanted the collectible, right? They just wanted it.
The good old days.
I love this. Like Mike, you shared this with me this morning as the Twitter thread where the guy actually has a video where he's showing off all the Babe Ruth cards. Like the second one is like a giant like jagged edge out of it, like half the cards like missing.
Somebody took a bite out of it.
Yeah, it's like such an awesome card. Like I love those cards too. I don't collect vintage, even though I have like a pre-war card. Like it's like a military uniform card that's graded. I love it, and I love that kind of stuff. But it's most of like the Babe Ruth stuff's gonna be way out of my price range. I wouldn't even think about trying to own one.
Even if I had one card. Even
a half card, right. And if I had it, I'd probably, going back to what we were talking about before, like it'd be irresponsible for me not to sell it because of like how much money it's worth. And like my collection, my Grails is in that $100-$200 range, like you, Mike. Like that's kind of where my top cards.
Can't be a grail. We just discussed this EP.
Yeah. No longer can you call it a grail.
Okay. So, but anyhow, I feel like this. I love that they found these, and I love the thought that. And I know you guys have pushed back on me on this a couple of times where I've said about how there are probably 52 manuals out there that are ungraded. And you guys was, they're probably all graded. I think there's probably a lot of them out there. Not that any of us will ever find any of them. And not that there's probably some that will never make it to light. But I love when things like this do happen. It's so awesome to find these like historic things just like pop up. And this, like you showed the tin that all the cards came in too. And like the tin itself is probably a collectible that's worth a lot of money.
Right.
I love this so much. Like I get into the comments. There was one person in there who, again, and this is going back to what we were talking about earlier. Somebody in there, like the third or fourth comment was somebody saying, "You're just going to touch those with your bare fingers?" And I'm like, "They're 100 years old. What is your touching going to do to the card?"
What are you going to do? You're going to put gloves on to handle that mangled card from 1920. Yeah.
You know what? You know what the response should have been? Yeah, and then I'm going to send it to HGA, asshole. What he should have said.
I wanted to piggyback on something you said there, though, EP, about these things being found. Our old buddy Dustin, the sports car dad, he has mentioned many times about how he likes newer stuff because of it being numbered. Like, how many there are, and they're never going to be more. He always kind of uses like kind of an exaggerated example, but the point is, like, you could find, who knows if we might find a warehouse full of 1952 tops and manuals and stuff. And that does happen, not warehouse full, but we see this all the time where somebody had cards in the attic that their grandfather had or something, and they come to light and get back in the hobby. What do you guys think, though, about like the rarity of serial numbered cards versus older cards that you could find more of them? I personally don't think there will ever be enough of the older stuff found that'll impact the market, but that's my opinion. What do you think?
So I just as a thought exercise, I get what Dustin's saying. I do.
Yeah.
That being said, I was looking over here because I was looking for my index cards from that game we played of where I told you about all the different parallels from Select. Unfortunately, I cleaned off my table here, but like, yes, sure. That card is numbered out of 5. So that's definitely rarer than the mantle because there's more 52 mantles than 5. Yeah, but then that same card in a slightly different foil is numbered out of 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, 25, 75, 99, 199, 249, 299. Like,
it was also in 2023, 2022, 2021, 2019, 2018. Like,
plus there's the zebra, the snake skin, the die cut snake skin, the die cut zebra. Like, that's the problem. I mean, it's just
funny because it's true.
Right. You just keep going. Like, he could probably jump into another group of
and we played a whole game of this where I tried to trick you guys into like elephant skin, and you guys thought elephant skin was a real thing. I mean, like, so there's just so many numbered and not numbered but super short print cards out there nowadays that there could be 1,000 mantles just randomly found somewhere, 52 mantles just randomly found somewhere. They're still better than whatever numbered card you want to point to. It's just,
yeah.
I mean, just the facts. And those cards are not going to be as in good condition. So when they are, that holds another premium because, again, people didn't put cards in sleeves and top loads as soon as they pulled them out of packs. So, yeah, I get his point, but don't be tricked by manufactured scarcity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love Dustin, and everybody should hobby exactly the way they want to. When like your opinion matters, just do your thing, like for 100%, like whatever you want to do. But for me, when I think of a hobby and I think about collectibles and I think about something that is 100 years old, and again, dog-eared with a tear out of it, like that tells a story to me. Like that card is 100 years old. It looks 100 years old, and that I would much rather have more of those kinds of things pop up. And I don't care if there are more than 5 of those or 100 of those. I don't care if there's 1 million of those. The Babe Ruths, like that doesn't matter to me. Like that, just the fact of how cool they are. If somebody came and found like a warehouse full of them that are all in pristine condition and they flooded the market, I'd probably get one because they'd actually be expensive.
People who own the current ones are probably a little bit disagreeing with you on that.
Sure. The 12 people that own one or whatever. But I mean, like that's how I look at it. Like I want to have more of these things in the world that can tell a story, tell the hobby story. I love that. That's where I'm at.
I have a couple quick points before we wrap up here, but yeah, the numbered stuff too. I've said it all along. People like us that have been in the hobby for a long time, you don't know that the stuff that is popular right now is going to be popular in 20 years, 30 years. Like it changes. We look back at stuff that was popular back then that isn't now, and stuff that wasn't is really popular now. So when you have that multitude of different options of really the same card, I think over time people aren't going to be tricked as much by that as they are right now. And second, when these vintage cards are found, they're actually celebrated by the hobby. Like you don't see people going, "Oh God, more Babe Ruth cards were found. Now my cards are going to be worthless." Like you don't see that. It's one of the few
things
like,
that brings the hobby together. Like finding vintage cards
cool. Like there are never going to be enough of them found that it's going to have a dramatic impact on any kind of market. And it is celebrated, and it's a good thing when these things are found. Like people enjoy that. Like again, the story, like a lot of people love the story behind a card. These were, given to him 40 years ago. And I think the gentleman was like 80 some years old. Like he's had them his whole life. His dad had him his whole life. And like, he never really bothered to see if they were worth anything. And finally at some point thought somebody might be interested. Like that story is cool enough without even knowing why his dad collected them. And, the hobby will always celebrate these finds, and they're not
the stories behind them.
Yeah, they're not going to celebrate that gold prism out of 10 in 20 years. They're just not. So
because you could get a purple cracked ice out of 50 that looks exactly the same. Exactly. Same picture, same player, everything.
We could be to a point where people are like, what in the hell were they drinking back in the 20s? Like, wow, people did some hard drugs or something with all this stuff. Like, why couldn't they just make a card?
Yeah.
So
I guess some of these cards are already for sale according to the Twitter listing, which is a little upsetting to me. Like there are a couple of the collections that have been found like this and have arisen from wherever. They get a special like label on PSA, like they get a special labeling. Like I would love for stuff like this to get
collection.
Like something collection or something find or whatever, like something on the label, like to kind of like preserve that these cards came from this tin, this amazing tin that was found, that was brought to light 100 years later. Like I would love for that to be part of that. Like that'd be a really cool thing.
I'm just gonna wrap it up by saying, not everybody has to get it in a PSA slab.
Did I say PSA? Did I say PSA?
You did. Yeah, you did.
Before
I think the examples I've seen are PSA. So
Let me ask
Go ahead.
one question to you guys. If you found a thing like this, like say it was my grandfather's or your grandfather's or whatever, would you sell them or would you keep them all?
I wouldn't be able
'Cause-
to keep them all. It would be irresponsible.
Right.
In my,
Yeah. Yeah. I
And-
feel like I'd keep the one that I knew for a fact that he would have enjoyed the most me keeping and kept
Mhm.
that and then
Yeah.
sold the rest.
I think I
probably.
would keep one, but like
Definitely,
at the
yeah.
same time, I appreciate that stuff, but I'm not a collector of it, and I would rather, yes, it would be financially beneficial to me, but at the same time, I would rather collectors who truly appreciated that stuff and really collected it have them in their hands. So.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that was a long chat this week, but I think that was a good one. I think we covered everything, got a lot of our gripes out of the way. So if you're still watching, I appreciate you following all the way to the end. But
Yeah, thank you.
that, I will see you next week. Take care, guys.
Adios.
See you, boys.